Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review every comic I read this week in one show. This week I had 13 comic books, a pretty heavier haul for these day and ages, and we're going to start out with number 13, so we go least favorite to best pick of the week. Number 13 for me is We Only Find Them When They Are Dead, a new Boom book, very long title, literally fits the whole entire cover there, and I'm not a huge sci-fi fan. I tried this out because I like Al Ewing as a writer, and I'm a big fan of Immortal Hulk, so I'm like, I gotta try out this. Also, I am definitely a big fan of Boom Studios, like a lot of their number ones, and just like them overall as a company. So, I needed to give this one a shot. But, it starts out with us learning about this world where gods are a thing, and we get to see that they, as the title says, they're dead before the I guess space captains and space crew and humans get to see them, because they're utilizing them for minerals and natural resources. So this crew's idea, or at least the captain's idea, is like, I want to see one alive. That's kind of my goal, and we'll see what trouble he brings them into. But overall, I didn't really feel like I got to know the characters very well, and I think that's something that really took me out of the issue. I didn't really feel like I was connected to anybody, and for me, as someone who's not a huge sci-fi fan, the philosophy aspect of the gods and the space crew even, just wasn't really doing it for me. And then also, I felt like Simone, I think is how you pronounce his first name, but Mio's artwork, it's very dark, and that's kind of a problem I had with his Mighty Morphin Power Rangers run as well, but also a lot of contrasting colors. There's going to be like pink in one panel, and then green in another, and it just kind of makes it hard to focus on the artwork, which ultimately makes it hard to focus on the story. So for me, We Only Find Them When They Are Dead, it gets 2 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, which is Batman, The Adventures Continue, issue 4. I've been relatively disappointed with this book. I love the Batman the Anime series. Who doesn't love Batman the Anime series, especially as a comic fan? But this feels like a hollow version of that. It feels very two-dimensional. This issue tackles Azrael as a character, and we get to see an adventure between him and Batman. Artwork overall, I like. I think it fits the cartoony nature of the anime series, but I don't know if it really fits the noir style that we all know and love from the book. But yeah, overall, it's just very forgettable. I'm picking up the rest because there's only 2 more issues, but I think if this was an ongoing, I probably would have dropped it by now. And I guess I'm semi-curious to see this Deathstroke Jason Todd mystery, I guess we'll call it, or more of the Jason Todd mystery, even though Jason Todd in this issue is just looking on the outside, which was, I guess, not my favorite plot device in this issue. So overall, I'm going to give that 2 stars, and that is number 12. Alright, moving on to number 11. And number 11 for me is Strange Adventures, issue 5. Another book that I haven't been able to get into, and honestly, I think I'm going to drop at this point. It's about the halfway point of this book, and my favorite issue was issue 1, and honestly, that wasn't I don't even think it was in my top 5. Maybe it was, but it wasn't pick of the week. It wasn't my favorite issue. It was like, oh, this is interesting enough to see where this goes, and obviously I did, and it's just been really hard to get into these characters, in all honesty. I don't really know much about Adam Strange, and something I loved about Mr. Miracle that doesn't really ring true here is that I didn't know anything about Mr. Miracle either, and I felt like I was able to jump in as a new reader, and having, someone who's not an A-list character, it would be nice to kind of learn about him a bit more, or honestly, my biggest issue is just to like him a bit more, and no character is likable, and I don't mean that they have to be a goody two-shoes or whatever to be likable, but I just think that the things that they're doing wrong should be intriguing, and a character I'm really not feeling is his wife, Elena. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but she's the main character of this issue, and I don't know, I want to like her character, but there's nothing that I really enjoy about her, and I didn't really like her in this narrative, and I guess the maybe the mystery of what her motives are. Maybe that's why I don't like her. Or maybe there's like too much mystery of what actually happened. But yeah, this one hasn't really been doing it for me. Love the artwork, but not really enjoying the series. I'm probably going to drop this issue or drop the series. So I'm giving that 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 10, which is Fantastic Four issue... I was going to say 4. Issue 23. So, Fantastic Four, I like this arc. Actually, it was one of the Empire storylines I probably enjoyed the most, but I feel like with this issue, it went an issue too long. And also kind of gets into what I've definitely noticed with some of Dan Slott's work, and with the collaborators he has with artists, it always feels really crowded, where I feel like, okay, in this panel, there's 10 things going on. What do I focus on? And that's kind of the whole issue. There's just a lot going on. Everything kind of feels crowded, where there wasn't a lot of focus, and that's not even just storytelling, it's just the way the panels are looking. I mean, if you look at this one page, which is like the New York page, which I'm going to show you guys, there's a lot going on, and then the colors don't really pop enough to make it really stand out. But yeah, this issue, again, just felt like it went an issue too long. I'd rather have had what we were kind of doing before with the book, which is just like fun Baxter building stories with Val and Franklin, but then it kind of went too far into Empire. I did like Ben's wife's storyline. I thought that was Alicia's storyline was pretty good in this issue, but it was really short. And also it kind of leaves you on, like, is Fantastic Four continuing? Because it says the end, and then it just only showcases... Oh, no, it is. Okay, never mind. Because it showcased a one-shot, I thought they showcased a one-shot again, but it is. Okay, so Fantastic Four, issue 24. Forget what I just said. But yeah, anyways, Fantastic Four, issue 4, issue 23 gets 2.5 stars. Just wasn't doing it for me this week. Excited to see what happens after Empire, though, because we haven't seen the Fantastic Four in the Fantastic Four because of the event. But I do love Val and Franklin, so I missed them, but I didn't. It was nice to see the kids as well. Alright, moving on to number 9. This is the last issue of this book, as we start seeing more DC Comics getting chopped/ending, and that is Shazam issue 14. Shazam is a book, if I knew wasn't ending, I probably would have dropped a while ago. But right when I was going to drop the book, we found out it was ending. And I'm like, okay, I've read it up to this point. Let me finish it off. And it caps off on very predictable aspects where we even get to see like a carnival fight, which is very in tune of, obviously, the movie. And that's the final big battle. You get a little bit of Superman Prime, but I don't think much story from him. It's just more like, I have power. And then we have Billy's dad forgetting who he is, and it all ends in status quo of like, okay, I don't need blood to have family. And ends on that note. It was cute, but very forgettable, very by the numbers, and that's kind of what Shazam's been. I thought it was really exciting to have him back in the beginning. Also, another thing, I did not like the change in artwork. You have 2-3 strong pages from the beginning, but it wasn't my style, the second artist. It felt a little messy for me. I couldn't really feel the emotions and the facial expressions with that style of artwork, so not my thing. So giving Shazam issue 14 2.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8. So number 8 for me is Cable issue 4. So I've been noticing this a lot with the X-Men books. Everything kind of feels like it's at a standstill because we're in the prelude section of X of Swords, which is going to be an extremely long X-Men event tying into every X-Men title. And I'm debating if I'm going to pick up every X-Men title. It looks like you have to. It looks like one of these events that's literally tying into every book. It's not just a tie-in. It's like every part is a different issue of the X-Men. And if you want the second part, you gotta read Excalibur. Actually, first part is Excalibur. But yeah, so I'm gonna at least try it out and pick up, I guess, some books I don't usually pick up. But going back and from my tangent of X-Swords, Cable. The reason I mentioned that is I said that I feel like it's a little bit of a standstill, which, yeah, we have this kind of random mission that Cable goes on with Esme. Emma Frost hates Cable, in a way only Emma Frost can, as he's dating all her daughters. And we get to see Cable, ready for the next mission, and then the Summers are like, sit down, have dinner with us, and that's the end of the issue. very fillerish, but I do think there's some fun character moments in here. Like I said, I enjoyed the Emma Frost stuff. I even enjoyed the Summer family thing. I just actually wish those smaller moments were the full issue instead of this mission. I'm like, go back to the baby, you know? That's something that they set up and they like only reference in every issue. I'm like, no, I want to go back to that mission. And then you have older Cable that only shows up for a page, so I feel like plot is very slow for this book. But hopefully it picks up either after X Swords or during X Swords. And also the artwork's really good. I like Phil Noto's artwork. Very clean overall. So Cable issue 4 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 8. Alright, moving on to number 7, and that is Lonely Receiver, issue 1. Now, this is actually probably one of my more anticipated books for this week. And, definitely a lot of themes that I enjoy. A psychological thrill ride. Also a queer story, so that was nice. But couldn't connect to this one as I thought I would. Again, like everything that I was sold on, I thought I would like. But I really didn't connect to the main character. I think because we're really thrown into the breakup. The book is about this girl who's, we really see the toxicity of this relationship. Every bad sign is there, and we see the height of the breakup, and then they break up, and the twist is that her wife is an AI, so it's very her in that aspect, but it's like a mixture of horror, because there's like some monster of some sort that's haunting our main character, and then by the end of the issue, I think we found out that her wife was a phone. I didn't quite get that as I was reading. May I have to read it again, but in the ending of the book, there's a description saying, well, now we found out that her wife is a phone. So that was interesting and kind of a cool commentary, I'm sure, and will be a cool commentary on our connection to technology. But like I said, I think there's a lot of foundational stuff I really enjoyed here, and a lot of social commentary I really enjoyed, but I just didn't feel connected at all to the book. I didn't feel connected to any of the characters, and it makes it hard for me to want to pick up the next issue. Like, as a single issue, sure, it was a fun read, but it didn't really grab me for a full-on series. So Lonely Receiver issue 1 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, finally out of this 2-star zone, kind of a weaker week for me in that regard, but we are up to number 6, and that is DCeased, Dead Planet, issue 3. Love this cover, with my girl Cassie Sandsmark there. This issue has some of the things I didn't love about the last issue, mostly Constantine and his crew, and again, not that I dislike his character, I just feel like I don't know if his story really fits with the rest of the DCeased stuff going on. I don't know if it needed to be in the sequel, especially because there's so many other spin-offs. I feel like Constantine and his crew could be having a completely different series, because it feels like a completely different series. And then our main characters don't really get a lot of spotlight here. You get a little bit between John and Batman being Damian, and very slow progression of this cure plot going on. They're just like, well, there's a cure. How do we figure this out? Anti-life equation. So, and then we do have an ending with Mr. Miracle, which will be interesting, but definitely wanted the plot to move a bit more, but the reason why this is higher than others, I think there were some good character beats overall. Really liked James Gordon meeting up, Jim Gordon meeting up with Batman / Damian and their relationship. So those small moments I enjoyed with this issue that pushed it up to 3 stars. Artwork's still not my favorite, but I think the darker, scratchier artwork works for a book like this. So giving DCeased 3 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, issue 17. And I guess it's part of another arc, because it says Ring of Fire. Didn't even know there was like another full arc going on. But the reason this is number 5 is because Wesley's in it, and I really like Wesley as a character, so it's cool to see him reintroduced, kind of doing something, I guess, a little different with this character. I still think they're foreshadowing that he's going to be the Watcher for Faith. And if I remember correctly, he was the Watcher for Faith in the show. And, I thought that's a cool tease if we're going to end up having definitely a fan favorite character in the show soon. They definitely tease that there's going to be another Slayer. There is a third. When you think third Slayer, you definitely think Faith. The stuff that Wesley was doing in this issue didn't really entertain me. Like, I don't know if I loved all the conversations going on. There were some boring parts, and I guess that's a testament to Wesley's character, because a lot of it, especially the beginning of his character, is just like research, and that's what this issue was. Like, I'm going to the library! And I think Wesley works better when he's interacting with other characters, especially beginning Wesley. I think, Angel Wesley, he could do whatever he wants, but early Buffy Wesley definitely needs some people to interact with. So I think that's why this is a 3-star book compared to like a 3.5-star book. But it did make top 5 this week, so that's positive. And I like the cartoony nature of the artwork. I thought the artwork worked well for this one. And overall, I think it had some good plot progression and cool to see Wesley in the story, and hope we get to see more of him. So, giving that 3 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Young Justice, issue 18. You guys probably thought that was my number 1, because, Stephanie Brown's in it. Yes, it is in my top 5, because Stephanie Brown's in it. But, yeah, this issue was very by the numbers, actually. We get to see a lot of exposition to get to the point. Stephanie going up against her father, Cluemaster. And Cluemaster being, he's a dick. He's a dick as a father. And we get to see their relationship a bit as they fight. And her teaming up with, now Robin. So if you read Teen Titans Annual, I don't know who the hell the new Robin is, but I guess it's Tim Drake, because Damian's not Robin anymore. And now they're like, forget this Drake name, which I'm like, why did you ever call him Drake in the first place then? And everyone's like, go back to Robin, which I'm happy he's Robin. But is he Red Robin? Is he just Robin? Is Damian Wayne getting a different name? Do we need Tim Drake to be Robin again? I don't know. Even though Tim Drake is my favorite Robin, I'm not going to fight against that. But I don't know what's going on with the Bat family right now. But yeah, overall, I liked him and Steph. I enjoy Steph. I think Brian Michael Bendis, for the most part, writes her well, especially her personality, which I don't think every writer has nailed down, especially in modern comics and since her return. So it's nice and refreshing to get, the real Stephanie Brown back. And overall, it's a fun issue. I do think that the turnaround of what happened to her father is very quick. There's been months of her hunting down her dad, and then she just throws a baton about 3 times. Like, Dad's done! Thank you, team, for helping me out. And you think there's gonna be a fight between her and Robin, and she just kisses him. Which, honestly, in the long run, I'm kind of glad they went that route, instead of I hate you, Tim, I'm running away. We've seen that story before, so I'm glad that they kind of, twisted our expectations there. And then the cliffhanger is that Zeus is back, and he's mad. So the Young Justice team also has to deal with that, which I'm glad that they're dealing with that open-ended storyline, because that was introduced when Cassie was reintroduced. So it's cool that we're going back to the Zeus stuff and kind of dealing with characters through character arcs. So we're seeing the Young Justice interact with Stephanie's arc and now Cassie's arc. So I actually like that. And we only have a few issues left of this book, so it's cool that it looks like they're tying everything up with these characters, which hopefully they continue to do. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, this book, man, we've been waiting months for this book, because this was, I think, supposed to come out the week after everything with COVID went down, and that's Black Widow, issue 1. If you actually look into the book, especially if you got the printed book, the advertisements are from, stuff from March and August, in May, I should say. So May, they're promoting a Comic-Con that's not happening, and then another August Comic-Con that's not happening. So it's interesting to see that they've obviously printed these beforehand, and we knew that, because they actually sold this book to certain retailers ahead of time. Anyways, going to the actual issue of Black Widow. This was an interesting issue. Obviously, I picked it up because of Kelly Thompson. Love her writing. I'm actually not a huge Black Widow fan. I've rarely read Black Widow. I always try in issue 1, and I'm like, oh man, this is not for me. Even the Mark Waid stuff, I tried that. Didn't quite like it, so I'm not a huge Black Widow fan, but I like what Kelly Thompson's doing with the character. I don't know if this was a perfect issue. I do think there's certain scenes that, in my opinion, weren't needed. I think the beginning was really long, like the Hawkeye fight. I don't know where that's going. And just to get to the point of her having peace and her double life, I guess, being normal was really interesting. But I kind of wish that was the opener and the mystery could have been, oh, well, why is this happening? Whoa, that's crazy. And we do have a good cliffhanger with Arcade, but then I'm like, I kind of wish there was more context about Arcade, and obviously that's the point of a cliffhanger, but I really thought it kind of came out of the blue that Arcade's involved. But I do think a lot of the plot points were really interesting. I really liked Nat when she was just being normal and being, I guess, this architect that we saw in this issue. That she didn't want to see any litter. So, like, there was this, box to hold your drinks. I don't know what to call it, but it was gonna go over the building, and she literally went over the building just to get a cardboard box, and everyone's like, what the hell is going on? So I like those moments, and the artwork is so good for this book, and even the moments that were slower in the beginning, the artwork is breathtaking, and especially for the action, and I like kind of how silent it is. I think the artist and Kelly Thompson work really well together as collaborators to really pace in that regard well between dialogue and artwork. So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I thought it was a pretty good start. Definitely gave me enough to want to read issue 2, and excited to see where this peaceful life will go for Black Widow. So giving that number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Batman issue 98. Finally, we get to see the rematch between Harley Quinn and Punchline. And I will say, this issue actually started out pretty slow. I didn't know how to feel about it. I'm like, okay, we've seen the Alfred, Bruce Wayne stuff, I get it. But once we get to Harley and Punchline fighting each other, the issue completely picks up and really ends on a nice note, and has some good character beats overall, where we get to see that Punchline is so blinded, where she believes that she's nothing like Harley. She even says to Harley, "Is like, don't you see, you weren't important. Like, oh man, everyone's laughing at you." And Harley's like, "But you're doing the same exact thing. How do you not see it?" She's like, "Well, I'm different." So I like that conversation and kind of how complicated that is. And we'll see if Punchline ever realizes what's going on. And I love Harley as a hero. I've enjoyed Harley as a hero. I like that she's somewhat part of the Bat family. She's helping out Batman. And their dynamic is so different and good. And Catwoman's in this issue as well. And she has a good arc because she's playing definitely both fields. She's somewhat teaming up with Penguin and Riddler and all them and saying, hey, if you help me out with the Joker, I'll make you a millionaire. So that was an interesting cliffhanger. And I like the emotional beats between Alfred and Batman in this issue, where Alfred kind of, gets Batman to realize, fight for yourself. Yes, you can't be haunted by your parents' death all the time and my death, and that you couldn't be there, you couldn't have been there, and that you couldn't save me. Worry about saving yourself, and in that return, you'll be able to save a lot more people. So I enjoyed that. I liked the Alfred Batman scene. Also, artwork, man, really, really great stuff. But, the art team for Batman in general has been so good in the past 100 issues. So, giving Batman issue 98 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to my number 1 pick of the week, which is Firepower issue 3. I've been really, really enjoying this book. This is the second time it's been my pick of the week. Issue 2 is my pick of the week too. And issue 1, I think, was very close to being my pick of the week when that came out. I like just seeing the character development. In this issue, we get to see our main character and his wife want to train his kids. That way they are safe from his past, and they don't know about his past, but I like that. And there's some good mystery between his wife's partner, who looks like he might be connected to his past as well, and then of course the loss, or the MIA-ness of his leader and his mentor, which we saw in the second issue, continues in this issue as well. So I thought the plot moved pretty well, even though I thought the ending was a little confusing. I was like, I think you could have just ended on the police officer. But I like seeing the kids involved. I like the contrast between his normal life and this mystical martial arts life that he has. And the action slash martial arts are so well drawn by Samney here. Really great creative team overall. And I'm having a really fun time with this book. And I really think it's been paced pretty well. So Firepower issue 3 gets 4 stars. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of all your books this week. This is Comic Uno. Definitely follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her a Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Thanks guys. Bye.